speaking.
Lee, I'm Nick with LPC. We're on our way now from Barcelona. We didn't quite realize how far it was. The show is supposed to be at 9, right?
Yes, but it's okay. We can wait.
Well, that's good.
It's 7:30 now. Where are you?
Just a bit north of Valencia.
Ah, it's okay. We can wait. Do you need anything?
A banana.
A what?
A banana?
Okay, you got it.
No complaints and no regrets. I still believe in chasing dreams and placing bets, but I have learned that all you give is all you get. So give it all you've got. I had my share, I drank my fill, and even though I'm satisfied, I'm hungry still to see what's down another road beyond the hill and do it all again. So here's to life and every joy it brings. So here's to life, to dreamers and their dreams. As I drove down the motorway that night, I had no idea how my life was about to change. I was a jobbing actor. We'd been on a 6-month tour of Europe, schools, universities, big theatres, small theatres, and one very small theatre. Networks was the last date on a tour that was never intended to go to Spain. Fate dealt a hand in that. And with Neville, Louise and Emma, we arrived to present a comedy called Last Panto in Little Grimley. All we needed was one thing: a banana. So here's to life and every joy it brings. So here's to life, to dreamers and their dreams. May all your storms be weathered and all that's good get better. Here's to life. Here's to love. And here's to you. Here's to life. Here's to love. And here's to you. I'm 7 years old, and Christopher Barker has just been given the part of Santa Claus in the school Christmas show. To say I'm annoyed is an understatement. He will get to do the solo.
Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight?
Ultimately, it didn't matter because I was part of the show. But that was my first memory of performing a school show in my primary school. I can't remember learning how to do fractions or learning my first French words, but I can remember that show. When I was in that school, I had a really scary teacher called Mrs. Martindale. She had the nickname of the dragon. She even had a picture of a dragon on her classroom door. They say that you'll never forget a good teacher. This is so true. She came into class one day with a copy of a yellow school's edition of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, a musical. What you'll hear a lot of tonight is how my love of musical theatre influenced my writing over the years. As I listened to it, I fell in love. Within a week, I knew every single word. Every single word. I was nearly 7 years old. Mrs. Martindale, realizing she had an addict on her hands, made me a copy of the cassette. And here it is. My very first cassette. She took the time to copy it for me. I played it again and again and again. Then a local theatre produced the show. And my mum and dad, realising they had a theatrical emergency on their hands, booked to see it. Look, I still have the advertising 48 years later. Isn't that great? Little did I realise that the music I was discovering would inform my work 25 years later. Because this tune I first heard in 1976 would be part of our history here.
Pharaoh, he was a powerful man, with the ancient world in the palm of his hand. To all intents and purposes, he was Egypt with a capital E.
Ever feel that you're on your last leg? Sad, depressed, cracking up like an egg? Listen, son, there's a place you can go. Shelter well from the winds that may blow. The Joseph Overture gave me the perfect opening song for one of our most popular shows. Ugly is my version of the Ugly Duckling, performed twice in the old theatre and twice in the new one.
Seasons here and the meadows are green. Life is great and the scene is serene. Who is happy, full of good luck? Mr. and Mrs. Cedric the Duck. A time is here. Come for your tortillas, so out of the mirror. A time is here. They will soon be hatching, so wonder my dear. This day is a blessing that we thank our life for. This more fantastic and not what you like. Look, it's quite amazing how they all see so special. Watch with the strange one turn up and light. A time is here. Now for your tortillas, so out of the mirror. A time is here.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. We arrived in Orihuela and performed the show. Standing at the door with a banana was Lee Alexander. After, we went to Pasacha. And can you believe, this is pre-mobile phones, a photo exists of that night. And there it is. And you can see the people who were there. There's Anne, our teacher. Marta, the friend of the two Pilars. Pilar C and Pilar F. Don't know who that is. Dennis Malone, our teacher. There's Lee. Neville, Louise and Emma that I was touring with. I don't know who I spoke to, but I asked if they ever did theatre shows in the theatre. The basic response was yes, small class scenes and songs, but nothing more. Cut back to the UK. Yeah, not that one. The real one. That's the house that I lived in London. When I say London, it was actually Barnet. When people think of London, that's the bit in the middle. this is where I lived. And I have a funny feeling that Laura, you live in Barnet as well, don't you? Yeah, there you are. So, that's where I lived, but I needed to pay my rent. I was a jobbing actor, literally going from one job to another. The Man in Lost America, my first professional job, written by my mentor, Michael Burrell. We went to Canada. 5 children and it, with the world's heaviest puppet. A national tour of 6 months around the UK. Othello, playing Rodrigo in Shakespeare's Othello. I'll never forget the audience reaction. Alice Through the Looking Glass. Great comic roles, I loved it. Agatha Christie, The Unexpected Guest. I was a red herring. I wasn't one of the murderers. Phone commercial in Budapest. Not a bad job. 5-star hotel in Hungary for 3 days. But I never worked enough to pay my bills all the time. As a sideline, I would teach acting. Kids used to come to these mini drama schools after their day at school. So after seeing the theatre in Reyes Católicos, I thought maybe I could offer my services, do some exercises with the kids, do a show. So I wrote to Lee, and the letter still exists. Dear Lee, firstly forgive me for not knowing your surname. It was just Lee. I didn't know then it was called Kali. We met when I played Gordon in Last Panto in Little Grimley. I'm not going to read the whole letter. Anyway, I was a jobbing actor looking for work. It was worth a try. Theatre practitioner Peter Brook, who was famous for his 1960s production of A Midsummer Night's Dream, he wrote a book called The Empty Space. And in that book, he said that only 3 elements are necessary for theatre to exist. 1, an empty space. 2, a person in action in the space. And 3, someone watching. Our theatre, Networks Theatre, was born. Take a look at this line on the floor. Any idea what it is? It's the size of the small theatre in Reyes Católicos. Bear in mind that here there's a proscenium leg that you can't look round it. Yes. So where do we start? There was a step up here that people used to then go back onto the stage, and then in the corner was a small room, and we are not joking, it was a small room. And inside the small room was a toilet and a sink. And literally 15 kids were going like this. I said to Lee and Christina, please, could you take the toilet and the sink out? Because it really smelled. Rancid, rancid. They did. And suddenly we felt we had like another area. And then at one point we had an extension stage just to give us a bit of space. But those people weren't in the video. That's life. So that is what we worked with. And we would have 25, 28 kids on that stage. It seems really big, but when you're doing choreography, Lee and Christina, the theatre's biggest fans. Lee started Networks English Academy in 1977 from a table in his living room. That table is what Dennis now still works on. His wife Christina dedicated her life to teaching French in Orihuela, teaching in Gabriel Miro. They've been pillars of support for our theatre programme. It was time for the first shows. I offered my services to organise a course. I was looking for a job. My proposal was, if you fly me out to Spain, put me in a hotel, pay a weekly wage similar to what I was getting in the UK. I'll come and do a course. Yes, came the response. Bloody hell. How British is that? Bloody hell. I'm going to Spain. March 1999. I flew to Spain and I arrived in Orihuela train station, met by Lee, no banana, and stayed in the hostel in the Glorietta. Glamour. I had an afternoon visit to the theatre before the course started the next day. Conceived by Lee, design concept by Paco Nieva, and lovingly constructed by Ken O'Carroll, the first theatre has a wonderfully painted proscenium arch, a wood effect floor with a really nice choice of green, and a wood grain effect, and it had green and velvet curtains. I don't think when they created it that they imagined it would be used quite as much as it was for the next 13 years. What would the course be like? 3 groups of 15 to 20 kids, aged 9 to 14. 12 o'clock the El Carmens, 5 the Jesus Marias, and 7 basically the Santo Domingos. Other schools fitted in around that. I asked the kids to come every day. That was and is and always will be a requirement. We had our theatre course ready. The journey begins with one step you must take. So start on your way, on your journey. So set off, and who knows if the destination's far. But don't turn around, go on. The music is from a film, The Legends of the Fall, and was the opening song for Around the World in 80 Days in 2009. In 1999, 10 years before, we began a journey. We didn't know where we were going. The music in our shows touches different generations. So in 2009, 2015, 2023, there are actors who will know this melody and the lyrics. That music not only helps them learn, but it helps them make memories. Positive memories of performing in our very own theatre. We owe a debt of gratitude to those who built it and created it. And to think we got to move to an even bigger theatre in 2012. I've written a lot of songs with hope and ambition as their message. This next one is a personal favourite.
Every day when we say we are ready for our life, we know that from this day our road is turning. When you see that it's me who are ready for last day, we know it's time to go. I will
every time. These young people have just performed. Stop it. These young people have just performed a 45-minute show in a second language. It's traditional on the last performance to make a speech. I used to get a translator to help me, but with the kid shows, I just go for it. So forgive the grammar errors. We're laughing for Daniel. Forgive the grammar errors, but this sums it up. Muchísimas gracias. Los chicos han trabajado mucho durante 2 semanas y media. Y el razón que pongo las fotos al final del show es para mostrar un poco del trabajo durante el curso. Y es gracias a las familias que han cambiado todo para organizar que los chicos están aquí todos los días. Simplemente es un puzzle. Y este puzzle, todos los chicos tienen su parte. Hace muchos años una madre me ha dicho que, pero mi hija solo tiene una línea y tiene que faltar 4 días. No, una línea en el guión, pero en este sitio en el primer canción, en este sitio en segundo canción, en este sitio en tercera canción. Y es muy importante porque todos los chicos tienen su papel y es muy importante. Gracias a la academia que tenemos la oportunidad para hacerlo aquí, porque es una experiencia única. Que aquí en España tenemos mucha suerte que tenemos el teatro y tenemos el apoyo de la academia para mi trabajo aquí con los chicos. Y enhorabuena a todos los actores por su trabajo hoy. I'm doing a speech and I'm trying not to cry. I'm so proud of them. The first course started. In walk the kids. Hello, how are you? Hello, I'm Nick. Hello, yes, sit down. Jesus, that one's young. Lee, they're really young. Yeah, there's a couple of 7-year-olds, but they're super keen. How keen? Here is David Verdeco and Maria Ortiz. And this photo's actually from the second shows. I couldn't find the one with them together in December 1999. And then here they are 11 years later, when I was me in May 2010. Yeah. Currently working with networks. David is doing the lights tonight. I started with 3 groups. I brought 2 simple scripts with me. I'd adapted 2 Oscar Wilde stories, The Happy Prince and The Selfish Giant. Here's a photo of when we did The Selfish Giant. This is Borja. He was about 13 at the time. He's a plumbing engineer now in Torrevieja, and he has his own child. No man is an island, and I needed help. I wasn't used to teaching kids who were learning a foreign language, so I had helpers, well, translators. 2 of my helpers became legendary in the history of Networks Theatre, and they've appeared in countless shows. The 2 Pilars. Now I think back, it was crazy what we do. Sometimes being in the theatre till 2 o'clock in the morning, painting and preparing the props on the stage. The first shows were very simple. A song to start with, then the Selfish Giant short story, then a song, then the Happy Prince short story, another song and a finale song. It felt magnificent. It felt like we were playing Wembley Stadium to 50,000 fans. That's theatre. When you're involved in a production, you feel like you belong. It feels magical. That March in 1999, in the second week of rehearsal, I'll never forget this. Lee came up to me and said, "Can you come back at Christmas?" I never thought about a return visit. That December, in 1998, the December before, I played Dandini in a pantomime production of Cinderella in the north of England. I'd been asked to go back to perform in the same panto, in the same part, but in a different town the following year. What should I do? In the end, it wasn't a hard decision. The pantomime company had not been the best to work for, and I can never forget the contract they sent me. Different town, same part, but same money. No increase on the money or anything. If I did the panto, I'd work all over Christmas. If I came to Spain, I'd finish before Christmas. The first shows at networks were a big success. Families, yeah, Maria, you're not concentrating there. I did notice that.
Yeah, I know,
yeah. The first shows at networks were a big success. Families love them. So many happy kids, and it just seemed to work. Yes, Lee, I'll come back. When I got back from Spain in April 1999, life returned to normal. Except I'd just broken up with a boyfriend after 5 years, and I needed to find someone to take a room in a house that I was renting. A guy turned up to rent the room. He was a bit of a nightmare, to be honest, but his best friend from childhood just happened to be Dennis Carpenter. Think about how fortuitous that moment was. I write and direct the shows, and Dennis paints the scenery and makes the costumes. How lucky are we? Everything you need to put on a show. We had no idea where we would end up. Spain was just a job for me. That summer, when Dennis and I were spending time together, I was already planning my December 1999 trip. A really popular film at the time was Near, Far, Wherever You Are, Titanic. So for the second shows, I asked Dennis, could he make me an iceberg and a model Titanic that would fit on a kid's head? Plus, it had to flat pack into my suitcase. Here's a close-up. And I do remember that the iceberg in one group was Barbie. And she now lives above here. With her own baby. With her own baby, yeah. Come on, Barbie. Where am I? Sorry about that, yeah. When I got to Spain, I said to Lee, we need a piece of cloth to be the ocean. We went to Murcia to buy it, and it cost a lot. I remember Lee going, but it was perfect. I added the Bee Gees singing Tragedy, and we sang Titanic on the stage for the first time. That cloth was also used in another moment, and this is one of my favourite photos. Maria Ortiz, and she's here tonight. Lee always loved the idea of Broadway and big musical numbers, just like that famous Broadway musical 42nd Street. In our own way, we created moments like that. We didn't have a Broadway budget. We didn't have Broadway talent, but in our world, it felt like it. Now, there was one infamous moment that I'm not terribly proud of. Working with kids in a second language was a learning curve for me. And there were times in early rehearsals where I would get a little bit stressed and angry. I know I did, I've got better. So, one such moment involved a carton of juice,
I was going there.
a girl called Susan.
I was there.
Who was there?
Pilar.
You were there, mate. Okay. I threw it in the wrong direction. And it also involved that beautiful cloth Maria Ortiz, the girl in the photo, picks up the story.
There was a moment, it was, I don't know if it was my first show, my second show. There was this moment that we were doing kind of waves and with lights, and it was beautiful. And there was this magician that was going to go to be lifted, like stepped on the knees of two other actors and stepping up, and with a wand, like, I don't know what I was doing, I don't know. But I remember that it wasn't me who was going to do that. It was a girl named Susan, and she was always late. And the cue, she never was there on cue. And Nick was getting angry and more angry and more angry and more angry.
As teachers, we spend time with young people who will remember us for how we acted and inspired them. Looking back, I used to get overexcited and angry, I suppose, if things didn't go as I imagined them in my head. So, Susan?
I'm here to apologize for what happened.
Nick always was drinking.
Can we add some information there, please?
Was always drinking juices. And I don't know if it was a pineapple juice or something. David Verdejo and I, we still remember this moment every time we get a beer or something. Susan was late again. Nick threw the juice onto the stage, shouting, "Susan, you were late!" Oh my God, that was so funny. And I was there, and Nick said, "Maria, you're gonna do this moment. You're gonna be the magician now."
If you can do it, the part's yours.
So I stepped in, and suddenly I had something to do, more important. It's like you're covering a principal role or something, and the main character breaks the leg.
Her ankle's broken. She's out of the show.
And then you have to go and on stage and be ready for it. So I made sure that I was always on time, because I didn't want Nick to throw me an orange juice or anything like that. But it was so funny. That is something that I definitely learned from network theater.
Come on along and listen to the lullaby of Broadway, the hip hooray and ballyhoo, the lullaby of Broadway, the rumble of a subway train, the rattle of the taxis, the daffodils who entertain, and Angelos and Maxie's. When a Broadway baby says goodnight, it's early in the morning. Manhattan babies don't sleep tight until the dawn. Good night, baby. Good night. Milkman's on his way. Sleep tight, baby. Sleep tight. Let's call it a day. Listen to the lullaby of old Broadway.
Some images there of our wonderful colleague Hannah Palethorpe, who made such an impression in the few years she was with us. In some shows we're still using her choreography. One particular student had this message for her.
And if Hannah is listening to this, let you know that I love you, and you left networks and you were a great part of it, and I'm kind of an adult now and I've got lots of crazy and cool memories dancing with you. Hope everything's going super great. Mwah. Big hug to you as well. Bye bye.
I'm not quite sure what he means, but I'm kind of an adult. Miguel Jimenez, who we all know as Michael Jackson, who appeared in many shows and is now an award-winning dancer and performer.
Oh my.
December 1999, I head off to Spain for what would be show 2, the Millennium Shows. There was a big thing at the time that the Millennium Bug would crash every computer on the planet. We all saved our information ready for the worldwide crash. And of course, nothing happened. But the Millennium Shows were fun. And we got to sing this.
Hello, Sonny.
Hello, Sonny, Orihuela. And do you remember I turned down playing Cinderella? Same money. We did our first panto here at Networks in Spain, Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast. Performed by the kids. A mini version, of course, but some panto jokes were there. And they are great stories. But I made a rookie error. Note to self, when you direct 3 theatre courses at the same time, don't do Cinderella with one group and Beauty and the Beast with the other 2. It taught me a massive lesson. Keep all 3 shows identical. But there were some nice moments. Teaching our beast Philip how to dance was one. And then it was also the first time we had a panto dame on stage. This is Juanjo.
Yeah!
He's now an architect in Belgium. Before I flew out to Spain, I asked Ken if he would paint the backdrop. I asked for a world map. It looked brilliant. In one part of the show, I used the map to show conflicts around the world. One moment, a panto-style story. The next, using theatre to create a really powerful and impactful and emotional moment. A taste of things to come, perhaps. The staff at Networks at the time was based in 2 buildings, Reyes Católicos and Calle La Huerta. Upstairs in Reyes was Lee, middle room was Ken, and the 3rd room was Mary.
Yeah.
And then over in La Huerta was Dennis Malone, Anne, and James. 6 teachers. Back in England again, Lee wrote to me with an idea. May 2000, let's not do a show. Why don't you go from class to class and do mini projects with different ages and levels? Well, that proved to be a challenge. 6-year-olds, where I didn't know their course book. 14-year-olds, who didn't want to stand up and sing. It was tough. But I did a course with adults that became show 3. And we called it My Perfect Day. An improvised show that was fun to create. But I'm not sure that even one photo survives. Upstairs in Reyes Católicos, Networks teacher Mary needed maternity cover. I was asked to cover her classes. I declined. I was then asked again. I declined again. I didn't see myself as a teacher. I was an actor. In December 2000, I was back for a 4th time. And the course I wrote was Robin Hood. This time, it was more like the shows we have now. One story. Once again, for kids aged 8 to 14. Same show with each group, so I didn't get confused. And the first time we meet our ABBA-obsessed Robin Hood. I just thought it would be fun to have a main character obsessed with ABBA. It's a show that would come back again and again. It was a formula that would serve me well. When I was writing the later shows, you've got groups of kids where you can hide the weaker actors and the main parts so the kids can shine. It was really the start of my realizing the amazing potential of these young performers. You can see Pedro Murphy here as Prince John in Robin Hood. I remember in rehearsal saying to Lee, this kid is amazing. He just absorbs English. The theatre allows students to absorb even more. They're like sponges, soaking up the words and the music. It expands their memory, their courage, their talent. And the parents loved it. There are very few rules in rehearsal. Be on time. I don't care if you are Spanish. I don't care if Spanish people are normally late. We have a show to rehearse. Be on time. Don't ask me if you want to go to the toilet. Just go. We know where you're going. I actually have this as a teacher in my own classes now. From 5th of primary, they don't ask me to go to the toilet. They just go, yeah, we know. Don't forget your script. You can't play football without a ball. You can't do the show without a script. Write down everything in your scene. The number of the door you enter. The number you enter the line. Then you can quickly look before the next rehearsal and you remember what you're doing. And I have a rule called one voice. My voice if I'm directing, your voice if you're acting, and then your voice again if you're asking a question. It serves us well. We can't all talk at the same time. I sit the kids down on the first day and I give out the script. Then we go around the room and I listen to them read. I hear 3 or 4 lines, then I give them a mark out of 3. 1, big part. 2, supporting part. 3, 1 or 2 lines. We'll work on pronunciation, and next year you'll have a lot. So I cast the show in 3 days. Madness, huh? Well, I've often only got 10 or 11 days to rehearse the show. There's Lee with his camera. He was always filming. So what was it like to be in those first rehearsals? I asked some network's alumni how it felt, and this was their response.
Yeah, it was a place where a shy and insecure kid like me could become a superhero. So it's like a happy place when I think about it now. We had lots of fun, and I was always looking forward to doing the next show and finding out which character I would play. And yeah, it's exciting, fun, and happy memories.
Well, I don't know what Tiny Mickey would have said, but I need to say it was fun. Networks has always been a place of fun and freedom. So I need to highlight that we never worked. We just sang and danced and played. So I can't imagine a better way to introduce theater to a mini person.
Well, actually at first I don't think I gave too much thought to it. I mean, I'd known about this from my brothers, Alberto and Jorge, and from the outside it looked like so much fun, but I really didn't know what to expect. And by the time I did my first show, I was 7 or 8, and it was Adventures in Pantomime, and I had a blast. And also I was encouraged to do things that I normally wouldn't have done, like sing in front of a crowd or eat 12 marshmallows in a row, and that was very fun as well, so that's why I came back for more.
My first participation in a network show was in Robin Hood in December 2000, and I remember being so terrified. I just wanted to run away from the rehearsal because back then I was a really shy kid, and being in a room full of people speaking a language that I could not comprehend, it was just very shocking.
Well, my first experience in networks was even before I was in a show. I was just like watching the shows, and I was so excited that one day I could be part of it. And then when I turned, I don't know if I was 8 or 9, I started being in shows, and it was such an amazing experience. Then I started joining other companies. I stayed in networks theater. I started my own company. It was one of the best things in my life because like it made me start loving theater and musical theater, which is like the thing I like most in my life.
As Pedro mentioned, he has his own theatre company, and across the years he said some really kind things about how fortunate it was that he went to an academy that introduced him to do to what he ended up doing in his life. His shows are great, and now he tours them all over Spain. He even took my Cinderella script and brought Canto en Español to Spain. Proud mama. I once said to Lee, I really do not want to encourage any young person to become a performer or go into the theatre. I thought I was just putting on a few shows in a theatre in a small town in Spain, with music from shows where I rewrite the lyrics. What actually happened was I was opening up a whole world of ideas. So, who out of our alumni went to drama school or works in the field of entertainment? One such person, Maria Ortiz.
It's funny because I studied acting, but I specialized my career in musical theater, and I teach musical theater here now, and I'm a musical theater actress. And it's funny because when in all the shows, well, Nick would use songs that already existed. Most of them, I don't think he composed any of them, but and he would version the song, the lyrics, and cut them, and well, so I still remember so many of the songs that would be on the shows. And it's funny because later, once I started researching and studying a lot of musical theater history and watching a lot of shows and films and scenes, characters and all that, I suddenly recognized so many of the songs. And I was like, whoa, I'm watching Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I didn't even know this show existed, but I know 2 of the songs.
Roberto Hernandez studied at ESAT Murcia, now lives and works in Madrid. Maria Ortiz, now a director, teacher and actress. Ines Ruiz just finished her postgraduate degree in actor musicianship in the UK. Jose Manuel Marcos, singer with the group Third Floor and actor. Miguel Jimenez studied at ESAT Murcia, now dancing a lot. Tomas Jafara, in Madrid, carving a name for himself as an actor. Pedro Yaldes, producing multiple shows, writing, directing and touring, and still playing Dave. Marta Ultra, working as an actress in Madrid. Laura Gomez, working in the UK, and this is Laura.
So it was really interesting to get to know about shows and songs and stories that we wouldn't have known of otherwise. And I think that's the key thing that I took from it, not just performing and getting to know how fun it can be to create a musical theatre show, but also how much of that there was out there, you know, and how much it was a thing, you know, like it wasn't just like a little playing around kind of thing. It was like, oh, this is a thing, this is musical theatre. Is some people have that as a career and some people get to do that every day. So I think that's probably what opened that door for me, you know.
I remember when I was 15 years old, all I wanted to do was to become an actor. I understand their dream, but I also know how hard it is to pay the bills from just acting. I've always made sure that I don't glamorize working in the theatre, and for those that go on anyway, I've always encouraged them to create their own work, or have a second string to their bow. But what can you do? So many have gone on to follow their dreams. Careful the things you say, children will listen. Careful the things you do, children will see. Children will listen. Children will look to you for which way to turn, to learn what to be. Careful before you say, listen to me. Children will listen.
Networks theater changed my life because I guess it gave me a purpose in life. You know, it helped me discover what I really wanted to do in life. Because I know that it's very hard when you're a teenager to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life. But I guess that in that sense, thanks to Networks Theater, I was lucky because I didn't have to decide anything because I feel like theater chose me.
Doing theater at Networks not only helped me grow in self-confidence and obviously improve my level in English, but it also gave me the opportunity to make clear what I really wanted to do for a living. Discovering the world of musical theater and acting showed me my real purpose in life, and I can be more thankful for that.
I think doing theater has helped me to speak in public and to learn the lyrics of many songs.
Networks Theatre has marked my life. It's changed my life. It made me love theatre. It made me go into the world of theatre and just like keep developing. I studied musical theatre. I'm working as a musical theatre actor and director, and not just Networks Theatre, but Nick has inspired me in a way that no one has inspired me before. I have learned so much from it, the professionality, the being on time, learning your lines, everything was so professional for being like an amateur kind of group. It was so professional. That's one of the things I really loved and what I have learned from Networks.
Due to my current profession, I'm a PhD student researcher in math. I have to talk in English in front of audiences, in front of an audience, because I have to explain what it is supposed that I'm doing. So having this experience already of speaking English in front of crowds, it's nice. It's very nice. Comes in handy. And also a little bit of showmanship is required because I have to pretend that whatever I'm doing is interesting.
Children will listen.
Theater was what I wanted to do, and I discovered that through Networks Theater.
Kind words indeed. In June 2001, the theatre course felt different. 2 groups, and we're performing Treasure Planet. Little did I know that 1 year later, Disney would steal my title. Here are some images from the course.
Yes.
The story of a race through space to find the treasure. It was a lot of fun, and the first time we'd had a rock fight on stage, and the first outing for the opposite song. That song would go on to be in about 3 different shows. But why did this course feel different? I'd agreed to join the staff. I went home to Dennis one day and said, "Do you fancy going to live in Spain?" After a lot of talking, we agreed to come here. And that theatre was going to become my classroom as well. During the course, we were planning our move to Spain. So Dennis and I took up a lease on a flat in the centre of town. A home we still have to this day. So we began. October 2001, and I joined the staff. Like all the academy teachers, I had classes with kids from age 6 up to 18. And I know sitting over there is Kike, And Kiki was in my first ever class on my first ever day at 12 o'clock on the 1st of October 2001. But on Tuesday and Thursday, we had one group just for the theatre. It was a nice idea. Sorry, Christina, that's the best one I could find. It was a nice idea, enjoying English through the rehearsals and with an end product of a show. I think the initial idea was that participants would pay for the course, but it turned out if you're in the academy, you could be a part of it. Be a part of it. Became our unofficial slogan. We used it on posters and in publicity. It just said what we wanted to say. Be a part of it. Our first production was certainly the shape of things to come. I've always been a fan of A Christmas Carol. It's funny, it's poignant, it has a wonderful socialist message. And I love that. I lost my place in the script. So this group started to rehearse A Christmas Carol for the performances just before the children's Christmas course. In subsequent years, this would become the panto slot. I played Scrooge, which was a hell of a lot to learn, and I can remember asking my colleague James to help me run my lines. Dennis had not yet moved to Spain, as he stayed in the UK to finish up the lease on the flat we had, and also earn a bit of cash. It was the first show that had a mixed age cast, primary kids, ESO, and adults. How can you tell the story of 120 shows? It's almost impossible. That December, the course in 2001 was the Bamboo Princess. We would then revisit this again in 2014 and 2019. It was the story of a moon princess found by a woodcutter. They fall in love with their new child, but they keep her origins a secret. Everyone wants to marry her, but she will have nobody. All she wants to do is return to the moon. This image from 2019 shows you the care that we take. The costumes, the stage design, the lighting. We want to make the actors feel special because they matter. Back in 2002, we hadn't developed enough to do a big musical show in the following spring term, so our offering was humble but fun. Do you remember these two? The two Pilars. They're both here tonight. As a thank you to the two Pilars for all of their help, I wrote a show for them. I wanted to make them feel special. They've given me so much help. Here's Pilar F painting an elephant at 1 o'clock in the morning. So I wrote Two Princesses in Waiting, and they had a ball. As a side note, when Dennis and I rented that flat in Orihuela, the guy had just broken with his wife, and he left loads of things in the flat. And when he came back, he only wanted one thing. He wanted his cuernos back. But we'd used them in Two Princesses in Waiting and sprayed them gold. So Dennis was like, there's a joke there, I think. Anyway, good. Move on. You can see from this picture what a ball the two princesses, the Pilars had in the Two Princesses. The Two Princesses in Waiting. It's the story of Princess Felicia, Pilar Ferrandez, and Princess Cecilia, Pilar Cartagena, who basically spent so long getting ready for the royal ball, they completely missed it. I wrote the show as a thank you to them for all of their help. It was wonderful to create that show, and they showed off their brilliant command of English, learning a two-hander one-act play. Almost a two-hander, because It was also the stage debut of Dennis Carpenter in the important role of Palace Messenger.
Note. I love notes. Oh, I do love notes. Do you love notes? Do you love notes? Shut up! How dare you? I'm a princess. Shut up. You're harmless. That's better.
I didn't even give Dennis a line. I then wrote a sequel in 2009, The Three Princesses in Waiting. Laura Vergara joined us as the tearaway sister, Princess Delicia. Princess Delicia, the youngest of the three sisters, had returned to the palace with a German ski instructor called Hans Everywhere. Played by... Got it? Played by Yare Garcia. It gave me the chance to write some very silly lyrics to a favourite song. The ski song.
In some sports you're jumping and some sports you're bumping, but skiers will always go down. In some sports they go up and others they throw up, as happens all skiers go down. All that you need is an alpine break. First left and right leg, all it will take.
Skiers will always go down. In some sports they go up and others they throw up, as happens all skiers go down. Here are the boys for your après-ski. Buy us a drink and we go, we black, red or blue, we have got the runs.
Sounds good, sounds good.
It's not that bad.
I love it, all these cool teenagers, and I dress them up like that. You can see the rest of the song on YouTube. It was a lot of fun to write and perform. Yere and the boys all went through the entire system at Networks, and Yere is now a translator for Netflix. The 100 Show book. It'd be great to show a clip from each and every show, but we can't. In 2018, Pedro Murcia, who's here tonight, when he was a member of our staff, he edited this book. And this book is a souvenir. It's full of memories for us. Each page is one of the 100 shows. And you've got a text written by somebody who was in the show at the time. And there's photos from the productions. They're on sale as you leave tonight. €5 each. And if you want, I'll sign it, but it might halve the value. Okay? You do know that I'm not going to go through all 120 shows, right? It's possible we want to get out of here by midnight, tomorrow night. Have I mentioned this is my favourite photo ever? It was this show, show 25, in December 2005, that I realised we were onto something called Legacy. That show was another version of A Christmas Carol. I called it Scrooge.com. I tried updating the story, but it didn't need it. Again, I come back to what I've been saying all along. How on earth can you tell our story? I think the best way is to think of it as generational. Kids who start in the theatre courses get to gain experience. They then grow up, they join the older group, while the younger students then start the theatre courses, and then they grow up and join the other group. And And when they leave, we really miss them. The past is gone, the present's here, the future's coming so soon, I fear. To sum it up, what have I got? I really have a lot. I really have. Time to go, cap in hand, to visit them. Will they understand? Can they forgive like I could never do? Oh, I hope they do. I hope they do. Come in, my friends. I want you to know that I have changed. Scrooge has changed. Happy Christmas to everyone. I'll buy you all a Christmas turkey. I'll buy you 1,000 turkeys.
The past has gone. The present's here. The future's coming so soon, I fear. To sum it up, what have I done? I really have a lot. I really have.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Scrooge. We didn't mean to disturb you.
Typical of you, Bob.
No, it's not. Leave him alone.
I'm joking.
Huh? They never make jokes.
I don't know, Tiny Tim. Will you take the biggest turkey from the butcher for Christmas lunch?
Of course, I will. I love it.
I'll bring it to your house myself.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Scrooge.
You're very kind.
No, Jane. It's you being kind. After the way I acted in the past.
Oh, Mr. Scrooge.
Look, Bob. I'm going to make you a corner. Mr. Marley's old desk.
Do you mean it?
The Scrooge on crutches. Look, Dad.
It's perfect. Simply perfect.
Edo was Scrooge, Jimena Mrs. Cratchit, and George was Bob Cratchit. And then just 3 weeks ago, they joined the other group, and here they are. Edu, who got to die in Psychedelic Cool. There's Jimena as one of the hippies in Psychedelic Cool. And then there's George, who was one of the greasers in Psychedelic Cool. They join the first course, they do the courses, then they come and join the older group. And that's basically how it works. In just 6 years, we produced 25 shows. Without realizing it, we filled a theatrical vacuum. Each year began to shape up the same. October, November, a pantomime. December, a children's course. January to March, a big show with the older group. April, May, a smaller show, maybe a play. And June, our summer children's theatre course. A great way to end the academic year. Networks Theatre. By 2012, in the first theatre, in Kairos Katolikos, we had produced 60 shows. 26 of those were theatre courses. Doing the mathematics is hard because there are so many kids who repeat shows, but maybe 750 participants in the younger groups. Many went on to join the older group, but maybe over the first part of our life, 850 kids had been a part of it. As I say, it's too much trouble to try and count them all. Each show in its own way is memorable. Theatre courses like Fairy Tale Mix, Make a Wish, Adventures in Pantoland, Who Shot the Sheriff, pantomimes like Cinderella, Snow White, Aladdin, plays and poetry, Remembrance, Distant Thunder, Painting Memories, The Secret Garden. I know there are many of you here tonight who were never around during our first 13 years. But here is a list of the shows we produced. A truly amazing achievement in that tiny space. founder of Networks Theatre.
So Lee, knowing you started Networks Academy and then the theatre program, what feeling do you have seeing the young performers on stage?
It's a very special feeling. I feel really proud, really obviously proud, and satisfied with the work that's we've been capable of doing. It's a dream come true, really.
One of the most inspiring teachers and mentors that anyone could ever have. He saw potential in me that I never knew I had, and potential in Dennis too. Dennis was in need of some work to try and fill some time, so he held a puppet course with some younger students. Again, Lee saw potential and he invited Dennis to become a teacher at Networks. Remember, everything was by chance. I met Dennis by chance. I arrived in Orihuela by chance. The theatre courses and shows fell into place by chance. I think I can safely say both Lee and I consider ourselves to be very, very lucky people, as we always look for the win-win situation. In around 2011, Dennis and I had lunch with Lee and Christina. We were asked a question. Did we think we would stay at Networks? We replied that we had our home here, our car, our mortgage, our dog. Here's Fraser. We had him 18 years, again by chance. He was a stray dog who arrived one day in Lee and Christina's garden. Adopt, don't shop. So then came a surprise. Lee and Christina said that they were thinking of expanding the academy and building a new, bigger theatre. Wow. We dreamed about it. In Reyes Católicos, they'd even moved a wall. The back wall was moved back a metre and a bit to make the theatre seating area bigger. Packy's office got just that little bit smaller. But the idea of a black box theatre? Lee asked me for a wish list. He asked me what I thought the theatre should have, what it needed. A dream come true. The room you're sitting in tonight is that new theatre. Our very own black box theatre. Yes, we knew it would have a pillar. A pillar. We already had two, what's one more? We knew the right-hand entrance would face the audience. But boy oh boy, our very own black box theatre in a language academy? That takes vision and courage, and a bit of madness too. Work began in 2011. Calle San Agustin 25, Orihuela. Downstairs, the theatre, measuring 8 meters across. A sound booth with lighting control and a soundboard. Stage lighting. Backstage would be 2 toilets, 2 dressing rooms, and a 3rd storage room for costumes. Wooden box seating that would contain more storage. Costume rails in all the rooms. Upstairs, a storeroom. 2 toilets, an office, 2 classrooms. I'd be teaching in one, and Dennis would be teaching in the other. Pinch me. Is this real? We finally moved here in April 2012. The wait was over. The new Networks Theatre was here. imagine the freedom we felt. The small theatre became a happy memory. The new theatre gave us so much space. 8 meters across. How many times did someone say, how did we manage in the old theatre? But we did. It was all we knew. But now we were here. I needed a show that would show off our new theatre. And I came up with the idea of marking the 100th anniversary of the sinking of Titanic. Do you remember this moment? That was 13 years earlier in the other theatre. I called our first show in the new theatre Titanic Ship of Dreams. People kept asking me, how are you going to sink the ship on stage? Well, we weren't. We were going to meet some characters on the ship up to the moment of impact. Some characters were real, some were fictional. I've always been fascinated by emigration from Europe to the United States, and it gave me a chance to talk about dreams. Our central character, Mary, dreams of being a lady's maid. Gerald and Mildred dream of being together, away from their families. Our film director, Max, dreams about making movies in Hollywood. And the girl he tries to impress, Della, she dreams of being an actress. And Mary's father, Fred, he just dreamed about the best for his daughter. The show Titanic was the culmination of our black box theatre needed a wow moment to open it. Mary and Fred were fictional characters, but theatre made them real. At the end of the show, we revealed who had survived and who had died. Fred survived, but Mary died. The moment it was revealed, you could hear the gasps around the audience. It was great. We had created a magical moment. We're all very proud of that first show. Give me a cheer if you've been in a Networks panto! Oh no, you haven't!
Oh yes, we have!
Back in the day, back in Britain, I'd appeared in pantomime in the UK, but it wasn't really a genre that I would call as genre, Joyce. It wasn't really a genre that I would call a favourite, but it fit very naturally into our theatre calendar. Theatres in the UK have a tradition of repeating titles every 4 or 5 years, and that's certainly something we've done. It's a pleasure to have written and directed and appeared in 19 pantomimes at Networks. So what's been the most performed title? Any idea? With one entry, Puss in Boots, and one entry, A Christmas Carol. Dick Whittington is next with 3 appearances. Beauty and the Beast also has 3 appearances. Up next is Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs with 4 versions. I love this because we can get the younger students, the primary students can be the dwarfs. It's their first taste of pantomime. Aladdin also has 4, and the winner, well, there is no winner yet. Cinderella also has 4. I'm very pleased to say that Cinderella from 2002 is here tonight! Marta! It has been known over the years to walk around Orihuela and Dennis and I shout at Cinderella! So, Cinderella is not a winner. It's equal first with 4. But can you believe it's 8 years since we did it last?
Wow.
It's going to be a winner because Cinderella is back in October, November, and Laura Vadri is going to be Cinderella. So congratulations to her. Massive congratulations to all of the actors who appear in our pantomimes. Lee always talks about how do you cope with the language and the jokes and the wordplay. Where's your potential is amazing. How do you cope with the songs and the choreography? It's because everyone's so talented. One thing that links pantomime into our next chapter is Dennis. Dennis and I take it in turns to play the dame, but of course in Cinderella there are two dames, it's the ugly sisters. And playing sister with him is the most fun ever. And he makes us look so good in his costumes. Wow. Yeah. Many of them, very wealthy there, Matt, wouldn't it? Many of them are recycled from previous years, some of the jokes. But his ability to create these amazing looks is incredible. Over the years, he has sewn amazing costumes. What would we do without him? Did you wonder why he got 2 chapters? Dennis, who's sitting over there, is phenomenally talented. His stage designs, his costumes, simply put, without Dennis, Networks Theatre just would not look good. Ken very kindly painted the backdrop for the first 2 shows, but Ken's a busy man. And if I asked him to paint 5 or 6 backdrops a year, I think his patience would soon run thin. But we have Dennis. He's created design after design that perfectly encapsulates each show. And he's such a hard worker. After a week of teaching, he'll be in all day Sunday, and he gets the job done in record time. Every design, lovingly planned, painted, and created. Here's the original design, and then here's the finished product where Dennis has painted it onto the books. Christmas Carol in 2014. At the time, my mum had just been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, so this is one of the last times that they visited. My mum and dad were great supporters of the theatre, and they came to see our pantomime every year for 16 years. And I know how proud they were of the work we did, and they were so supportive of me in everything I wanted to do. And here's Dennis with his mum. She was such a big supporter of the theatre as well. She loved to hear about his work. 25 years of Networks Theatre, but it's also 25 years of something else. Dennis and I got together in 1999, and so this year is also our 25th anniversary. Dennis, you are an amazing talent, and Networks Theatre owes you so much. Thank you. nailed that part. Also starring, on and off stage, James Gregory. We basically started at Networks about the same time. He was a year or so ahead of me. I used to operate the lights and sound for the theatre courses, but no man is an island. And if I wanted to be in the show, I needed help. The previous theatre was not blessed for technology. We had a few spotlights that Lee had robbed from shop windows to begin with. And then we bought a few Fresnels, the black box ones there, and we felt very posh. We had a kite, but it was very basic. And no matter what, James always did a great job. And when we moved to a new theatre, James threw himself into the task. He spent hours and hours learning how to program the lights. He certainly deserves our thanks. Other technicians across the years have included Sarah Ballester, David Videco and Ines Ruiz, amongst others. We always need technical support. And I should say thank you to Sarah, because I really needed someone to do the lights and sound in the other theatre, because James had some time off when they had their family. And Sarah really wanted to be in the shows, but I needed her to do the technical, so I'd say to her, you do the technical and you can be in the next. But thank you, Sarah. I haven't been the only person who has written and directed a show. And I'll try now to remember everyone. Simply Knowing You. Simply Knowing You at a time when we thought our new theatre was ready. We were going to have two theatres going. This one and a studio theatre. But it never really came to fruition. But this show was directed by Miller Wilcock, who was our teacher for a short time. Joe P. was on guitar, and it was a nice touch because I really like live music in shows. I think it adds something special. Last Hope with a brilliant pop soundtrack. Last Hope was a real. It dealt with the tough subject of a family and a group of friends facing up to the fact that one of them was terminally ill. It was a tough watch in places, but that's what theatre can deliver. It holds up a mirror to nature. Mickey Jimenez.
And also, I need to remember here the work that Joe and Ines did with Last Hope. I think is one of the greatest shows I've ever seen at Networks. I hope they do that again. Great show.
I think he means Daniel and Ines. Because Daniel, who was the co-director, is here tonight. A Game of Love. Oh, there's Daniel again. Look. Oh, there's Daniel. Child. Good, yes, A Game of Love. I asked Joey P., our teacher, if she wanted to create a show for the theatre. And she came up with a brilliant drama. A story of kids who were growing up and how their lives were changing with age. Tunes and ballads, it was a really cool drama. Truth and Dare. We've told several LGBTQ stories across the years. For example, in Summer Camp and When I Was Me. But this show solely focused on a lesbian relationship. A really super story where girl meets girl, and will there or won't there be a happy ending? It was created by Ines and Joe. Theatre has a responsibility to tell everybody's stories, because sitting in the audience are young people who deserve to see themselves on stage as much as the next person. At Networks, we're proud of all of our shows. Boy oh boy, Behind the Wall, was this a cracking show? Behind the Wall was an emotional drama that packed its punches. Courtroom drama, street demos, marital abuse in the story, It really was a powerful night in the theatre. Created by Hannah, who was also choreographing our shows at the time. Killing Hamlet. This was a proud moment for me at Networks. Nearly every show had been created by me for a specific cast in modern language, but Pedro Murcia edited and his masterpiece Hamlet into a very accessible 60 minutes. David Verdeco took on the eponymous role, and the supporting cast were exceptional. Total. Pedro was back with a strange tale of brothers trying to reconcile their past. They were all moving on with their lives, but the pull of the family and the need to sell their family home brought up old tensions. Stand Up for Talent. Yuri Garcia hosted 2 talent nights. We searched high and low, and even lower, for musicians and comic acts. It was a really fun couple of nights. The show must go on. This brings us full circle. When the pandemic hit, we had no idea how long we would be closed for, or if we would be able to come back. Ines Ruiz had the idea of adapting Last Panto a little grimly, the play I arrived with 22 years earlier, into a smaller show to reopen the theatre. It was perfect. I remember going in to help them. Ines, who was directing it, and Danny, who was helping, they asked if I'd come in and just have a look at it to give them some ideas. After 2 years of nothing, no theatre, no acting, no directing, I have to admit I was a bit emotional hearing voices fill the stage again. Did I miss anything? Of course I did. I didn't mention the girls who became friends and had a group called Reknad. It's dancer backwards, but no one's supposed to know. I kept saying to Dennis, what if I miss someone out? What if I don't use someone's video or photo? Will they be offended? Who have I forgotten? Who should I make sure that I mention? Well, this is my apology if I forgot to say your name. I didn't mention Welcome to Sweetville, which was not only a theatre course in 2002, but later a bigger production, and then performed in many classes directed by some of our teachers. This was a reproduction of Van Gogh's Starry Night, painted by Dennis. It measured 3 meters by 3 meters. I carried it over in my suitcase. We've taken actors around the world, to China, to the Wild West. In 2003, we celebrated man's first flight. In 2012, we sunk the Titanic. I barely mentioned the theatre and education work, where I had brilliant acting support from Hannah, Jo, Ines, Maria, and Paula. When Lee retired, Karen took over the reins. I'm pleased to say that both she and Ken, the Academy's Director of Studies, share the passion of how theatre can change our students' lives. I needed to choose a final photo, so I chose this one. The fairy tale mix, last December. Dennis's stage design and great costumes. The students are performing one of my favourite scripts. They all have their place. They all have their lines. The parents and teachers are so proud of what they have achieved. Sometimes, when kids ask me about the theatre, they don't always know what it's about. Theatre is more than just a story on stage. It's emotion, it's teamwork, it's mathematics, it's movement, it's family.
I think that in network theater you're so lucky if you ever participate there, because you can be you're surrounded with so much talent that you want to be a part of that talent also and contribute to that. Because Nick, Dennis, James, they all show you so much and they teach you so well from the stage perspective, and that's so important.
To me, network theater means a lot of things, and it has given me a lot of things. It has given me a lot of friends. It has given me a lot of fun, maybe some tears, but I think the word that sums up network theater is family. We are a family, and we have Nick. He's our granny, because he's always there, and we sometimes remember he's there. No, because he's our leader, of course. But yeah, we are a family, and you could find people in the theater that share some interests with you that you couldn't find anywhere else.
It added to me a sense of, yeah, you can do silly things, you can do act shamelessly, which I love, and you have a good excuse, and nobody's going to tell you you're making a fool of yourself or things like that.
I'm a very big fan of the quote that goes, "Never forget where you came from." I try my best to apply it in every aspect of my life I can. So for sure, yeah, I keep my memories from network very close to me, very present every day.
How many shows and performances of shows have you sat through?
I would calculate a lot more than I'm going to say, but I would say 150 that I've really sat there and absorbed. I love it because I love to watch. Well, part of that would be also rehearsals, I guess, but if you can't count rehearsals or dress rehearsals, I would say 150. It's always seemed to be a miracle that our young students are capable of memorizing a script, a dozen songs, choreography, lots of other things coming on and off stage. It's amazing for children to be able to do that.
It's as simple as that. Thank you very much. Oh, group photo! Group photo, projector on. Yes, I remembered. For here you are sitting there, loving this, whether or not you should. So somewhere in my youth or childhood, I must have done something good. Nothing comes from nothing, nothing ever could. So, somewhere in my youth or childhood, we must have done something good. Happy birthday, Networks Theatre. 25 today. Thank you for coming.
Happy birthday, Network Theatre.
Happy birthday, Network Theatre.
Happy birthday, Network Theatre.
Happy birthday, Network Theatre.
Happy birthday, Networks 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 Theatre. See you soon.
Happy birthday, Networks Theatre.
Happy birthday, Networks Theatre.
Happy birthday, Networks Theatre. Happy birthday. I don't know if I'm saying it right or what.
Happy 25th anniversary, Network Theatre, and a long and successful life. And thank you for everything.
Happy 25th anniversary, Networks Theatre, and a long, successful life.